Good morning, this is Dr. Khalsa, and it's the morning after our live conference, which was Thursday evening. And the reason that I'm talking right now is because the recording didn't take of our meeting, so I wanted to share the highlights with you. First of all, I want to thank Jamie Monique for coming to the conference. I think we started off with a few highlights or pieces I wanted to emphasize, and then went right into Monique's questions. And since other students had emailed me questions but couldn't attend the live conference, we made sure that they were all answered too. But I'm going to make my highlights first and then interject them here and there. But this is going to be short, and it's not as strong and powerful as if you were there asking your own questions last night, but I think some of what resulted can help you with clarity for data meeting number 2. All right, so we're here at week 5. That's what we're in right now, and I opened this up right before the live conference because I wanted to show you that the wrap-ups often connect what was done in the past week, what will be done. So with this wrap up, I get into details about the PLN Part 1 project or PLC Part 1 project, and talking about what was learned or the benefits of the learning. But then I go in and I explain what's required for PLC Part 2 during week 8. So I want you to read this, please. And then I introduce the triangulation of data. All right. I wanted to emphasize that, and you'll get all the other details in this week 5 content. But there were some questions about data meeting number 2. Okay. So since it does require, here we go, triangulating the data. It requires a couple of things. It requires that you meet and, as a unified team, fill out the artifact tracking sheet. But I don't understand exactly what data needs to be brought to the table for data meeting number 2. And I explained that you have leeway, freedom, and as a team, you can make decisions about the process. The basic process is given in Venable's book, but you may have to always be flexible and make some variances on those meeting processes. For example, some teams here left data meeting number 1, picked out the data from the one individual they're going to use, and are going into data meeting number 2 with that decision. Now, that person whose data has been chosen may have a number of artifacts in different categories. But you, as their teammates, may also have artifact examples that you could bring to the meeting, and everybody can learn from them. So you'll have that supportive role if the data has already been chosen. And you don't go out onto the internet and look for fake data, okay? You just use data that's there. But there's a lot of learning related to what artifacts are most powerful and not. And, you know, the people that attended yesterday brought this to my attention. You can be supportive by bringing some of that research, because you have to rank the most important artifacts on your tracking sheet and with a number scale, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you need to be knowledgeable. Why is an observation form on each student a high ranking triangulation of data? Or is it? Is it as useful as you think? Or do you have more useful pieces of data? So that innovative part is something we talked about. And then I, of course, want to emphasize the rubrics. All right. So after your meeting, data meeting number 2 is done, here's what happens. You, as one team member, take that artifact tracking sheet, open it up on your computer, and multimedia presentation is created, you talking to me about the process of getting to that point of that artifact sheet. And there's a rubric for that, okay? And it's right here. So your artifact tracking sheet presentation is not only the completed artifact form, but also it includes the multimedia presentation for each person in this course. See, that's evidence to me that you participated because you're clear. And when you present it in a clear way and you consolidate and give me highlights, it's evidence to me how participatory you were, how clear you were on the process, and do you really understand why this artifact sheet was created. So this rubric will help you. And that's worth 15 points. So be sure to do that early as possible and do it well. And of course, after every data meeting, your team has a consolidator who creates and presents the multimedia presentation about that data meeting too. And just for clarification, it must be multimedia, and I define multimedia as visual and audio. So, and here's the second point I want to emphasize. Please be sure that you're using a different presentation technique from data meeting number 2. So Joe did the presentation for 1 and used Screencast-O-Matic. Mary's going to do the presentation for data meeting number 2, is not going to use Screencast-O-Matic. It's going to use a different presentation software. In this way, the many layers of learning of 615 become more solid. So not only are you applying different software, but you're challenging yourself to use software you're unfamiliar with. And the more software you experiment with, even if it's only for 15 minutes, the stronger you're going to feel, the more confident you're going to feel, because you're a leader in the educational technology field by the end of this program, and we want you to have those dispositions that are evidence to others that you are a leader. Okay, so that was my main point. And then, of course, after every data meeting, you go to your blog. You embed or link that data 2 meeting presentation I just talked about into your blog, and then you write a reflection. How did it go? Were you worried going in? Did something occur that built trust in your team? So go to a deeper level, but maybe more informal and less academic. And it's also highly suggested that your individual tracking form presentation also be linked or embedded in your blog. And then a year goes by, you're at the end of this program, you come back and you look at what you did in 615, and it refreshes your memory about the learning that has taken place. So those are the main highlights. Let me take one more look and see if there's any questions I meet. Okay. Now remember, as a team, you work on unique processes for you. I think it's going to be really interesting. A little later in the course, what I do is I take each person in this course and I partner them up with somebody else, and that somebody else is not on their team. And then they compare the plans that have been developed. And I have gotten such great feedback about that interaction, because they realize how processes can be so different, but the results can still be so powerful, or what one team emphasized to improve teaching and learning and what another team did, and they wish they had thought of that. So look forward to that. I think that's going to help you a lot. So I think that that answers all the questions, and I hope this was helpful, and sorry that we didn't have the recording of the session, which lasted about 30 minutes.